Welcome to the Speed League podcast from Southern California. I'm Kelly Hansen. The website is, as always, speedleaguefantasy.com for a free, super fun fantasy supercross game. We also do some other racing series in there as well. Go check it out. We're not making a lot of money off this. We're just guys that had this idea and love the sport and want to get other people on board with something like this. And, we're not even good with the marketing and all that kind of stuff. But from what I hear, if you like and subscribe us on YouTube, that will help. So please go and support our cause. I'm here as always with the man, the myth, and the legend, Ryan Berkman.
Kelly thinks that we aren't making any money, but actually secretly I'm like Jet Lawrence manager, and I'm secretly stealing all the money so he doesn't know. So if anyone finds out, please don't tell him.
That's a good gig from what I've heard. Yeah, I've heard there's a pretty good come up you can get from that until you get found out and posted online. Yeah, that was some pre-Anaheim 2 drama. There was some at Anaheim 2 drama, mostly coming out of Hayden Deegan's mouth.
Deegan finally won a race, and it was most people thought it was going to come sooner, and like he like took his losses very graciously. When Anaheim won, he said, okay, the like spotlight shouldn't be on me, it like should be on these other guys. San Diego, got a podium, but like still wasn't where he wanted to be, and he was kind of quiet, soaking it all in. Finally he got his win, and he goes back to the Deegan of old, talking shit, calling out Julian Beaumaire, saying, oh yeah, if you want to run your mouth, mess with the bull, you get the horns. And he's back on his Deegan bullshit. It was quite awesome to see, because he is on my team. So finally he's like doing what he should. But it was funny seeing Deegan running his mouth again.
Yeah, it was like pretty calm and cool and calculated, him not going too crazy when he's not winning the races, but it does seem like it was kind of just all bottled up in a Coca-Cola can that was just shaking for a few weeks before he finally gets on the top step of the podium. Was like, oh, Juju this that. And I mean, it started in the heat race actually before he even won the main event, because I mean, exciting heat race. He like takes out Beaumaire and then on the podium says, I think he went down or something.
Yeah, and like it was like cool seeing them actually kind of spark this rivalry, because like nothing's cooler than the top two guys having a little rivalry, because it always seems like they're going to be the two guys that are like leading the race. So like knowing that there's some tension between them, and also with like Deegan kind of taking out Beaumaire in the heat, it's like Julian's not going to take that lightly, and like Deegan shouldn't be making all these enemies, especially with the guys that are going to be around him. So it's going to be cool to see how that plays out. But I do think that Deegan has it figured out. Like I said, he is on my team. I may just flat out predict him first next week, because it is a triple crown. Deegan got the whole shot in the main, kind of pretty much led the whole time. I think that Deegan has it figured out, and I might bump him back up to a number one overall predicted. What do you think about that move?
Well, I mean, it comes down to the starts. And I mean, the first two races, he just didn't have the starts. And that's what the problem was. And of course, he gets the whole shot and is able to run away with it. So can those starts continue? Because he's got to make three of them in this triple crown to actually be able to take it home. And you know what? Beaumaire's good off the starts.
Beaumaire is, and also, do you know who's like sneaky good on the starts? Is the blazing rookie Cole Davies. I mean,
Yeah.
actually, he's a sneaky good starter too, and I have him on my team as well. I mean, him with like the podium this week. I mean, that's really, really strong. And I'm glad that I scooped him up off the waivers. That was definitely a good grab.
Yeah, he was gifted that podium after Smith went down trying to pass Beaumaire on the last lap. But my 250 West team is Beaumaire, Smith, and then I picked up Drew Adams, who's filling in on the Pro Circuit Kawasaki. I had them predicted Beaumaire second, Jordan Smith third, and Drew Adams eighth. And I went dead on with Beaumaire and Adams. And if Smith hadn't gone over the bars in those whoops, I would have had all three dead on predictions.
Yeah, we actually do a thing in our league where the leader in the prediction stat category at the end gets an extra $25 from last place. So, I mean, really making those predictions, not only are you trying to win that week, but it's a season long total that we track on the site. You could like view it under stats. And it's a cool thing to see, who's like being realistic and who's doing well at predicting. And like Kelly does have a track record of being a pretty good predictor. I like will say, I like kiss your ass and say that, Kelly.
I've won that one a few times, but it's a fun little side bet to do because it's not only a gift for the person who's good at prediction points, but it's a nice little sacco punishment for whoever gets last place in the league too. Um,
So I
but
think that I am doing, though, like I said, Deegan, I like may just go first. Like if he qualifies well, and like qualifies first, I might just slap him at like number one. And like Cole Davies, probably fourth, because I do think Jordan Smith is faster. And then obviously Juju and Deegan are. So it looks like Cole Davies is the fourth fastest guy in this whole coast, which like no one would have saw coming.
yeah, and I wouldn't be shocked though to see him get on the podium again, especially with him being such a good starter in a triple crown. I mean, I would almost bet on there's a higher likelihood of Smith dropping the ball on one of those starts or something and kind of blowing his position than someone like Cole Davies right now. Even if Smith might be faster overall. But yeah, Beaumaire. I mean, look, I hope Beaumaire can actually make it happen against Deegan, and I mean, not just because he's on my team, but he's a really good starter and should be able to pull it off. And look, Deegan's talking all this shit, but I mean, he said all this stuff on the podium once he won, and Beaumaire basically just came up afterwards and just ignored everything that Deegan said and seems super, super cool headed. And I hope he's taking all of this Deegan drama in stride as much as he appears to be, because it would be easy for someone, especially an 18-year-old, to get really caught up in that.
Yeah, like someone talking shit back, makes really good TV. In a lot of like other sports, UFC and football, it's like really big on like the like battle back and forth, and they'll interview these guys and they have a bunch to say. But it's almost to me so much cooler if like someone's talking shit, you just say, yeah, okay, well, there's a lot of racing left and I'll see you next week. It almost like shows like a confidence that you don't need to stoop to the level of that, banter back and forth. You say, hey man, I'll just show you on the track. There's a lot of racing left and I'll see you on the track, and like, that's really cool to me that like, him like being so young, Julian, that he was able to stay level headed like that. It actually shows, it like shows in his writing as well. How even though when Deegan kind of took him out in the heat, Julian didn't like instantly retaliate, or like ride over his head to catch him and end up crashing or something like that. So yeah, he has a good head on his shoulders.
Yeah, so held on for the second place. He's still going to retain the red plate going into Glendale, which I believe is his home race. Good starter, Triple Crown. I mean, should be electric, but I mean, I think we'd all be pretty surprised to not see, them kind of go back and forth in these main events in the Triple Crown. I expect to see Beaumaire win at least one of them and Hayden Deegan at least one of them for sure.
And like home race actually does matter. I mean, especially you like see this in like MotoGP and stuff, where it just seems like whenever a rider is at their home race and they have all their family and friends and their freaking elementary school teachers in the crowd, like it really does kind of light a like certain fire for like him just to push, like push a little harder. And actually, if I would have known that, I don't know. Actually, Julian might like come out swinging. Wow, yeah, that's something to think about for sure.
It's going to be fun to watch. But yeah, in that 250 class, so like I said, I picked up Drew Adams, the super young kid. I think he's 17 on the Pro Circuit
16.
Kawasaki. 16 is he?
16
Wow.
years old.
That's so. Can you imagine doing this at this level at 16? That's so wild. But a good finish, 8th place. He was actually up there a little bit further and ended up dropping to 8th. I might have seen him in like 7th or 6th throughout that main event. But coming in to fill in on the just, as always, decimated Pro Circuit Kawasaki team. And honestly, our whole West, unfortunately, is getting kind of decimated. I mean, Ryder DiFrancesco, I still don't know the details of his injury. We lost him this week. We lost
Marchbanks.
Marchbanks, Masterpool, who just came in to fill in for. I mean, this is a crazy thing about Pro Circuit Kawasaki. They're essentially down 3 guys in just the West. Kitchen was supposed to be in the West and bailed after illness and moved to East. And then Marchbanks was their other guy. He's now out with injury. And Masterpool, who was the fill-in, is now out. And they've got, the third string fill-in who's doing a pretty bang-up job. So, yeah, that poor team. But yeah, who else is out here? Evan Ferry. It's been a rough one already in terms of injuries in the 250 West.
So then this is the last week of West, and then it jumps to East, correct?
Yeah, I believe so. We're going to Tampa after Glendale.
And like we were talking about how stacked the like West was preseason, saying, "Oh my gosh, look at all these heavy hitters," and now just East is so stacked. And it's going to be crazy seeing that like first race in like Tampa, all those guys, going head to head. There's going to be some stacked heats.
Yeah, I mean we're not even ready for the East preview because we got another week to go still. But geez,
I'm ready.
Hampshire and Vial already the two champions in the 250 regions from last year. Faulkner moved over there. We got McAdoo, Pierce Brown on the Yamaha Star Racing, Anstey, Thrasher, Hammaker, Kitchen that moved over there. Holy shit!
Top 10 are all like top guys. That's crazy.
Yeah, predictions are going to be crazy in that one. But we'll talk that one next week on the preview. 450 class. Tomac, who we were so hot on last
Number
week.
one.
I mean, just looked flying. Everything was awesome. And I mean, he still was flying, but the start was just killed him. And he made a post about it afterwards that he picked this gate that had like a nice clean line coming out of it. But as soon as the rain started to come down, it just made his that line slick. And he just got the terrible start and had to come back from that and did a okay job coming through the pack for I think a 7th place. But yeah, unfortunately off the terrible start, we didn't get to see him back it up. Jet comes out and wins it. And then through all of this tornado chaos, Roxon somehow ends up with a red plate.
I know. And it's like so cool to see because like, Roxon, a fan favorite. He's like one of my favorites. I was a big supporter of him actually switching manufacturers. I have a lot to say about the Suzuki, about the Kickstarter, about how, maybe their kind of R&D isn't as like on par as some of the other manufacturers, but Roxon is pulling it out. He's been super consistent on the starts, super consistent on the race, and it's just like pretty cool to see him like flying out there. I mean, like, what if his like finishes be? I think that he finished off the podium only one time, right? He like barely missed it. He second, fourth, and second. I mean, like with the names like Jet Lawrence and Eli Tomac and Jason Anderson out there winning heats. I mean, Roxon's just riding his race, minding his own business, not making any enemies, and just comes in with the red plate this week. That is so cool.
And I mean, he rode super, super good. I mean, he started this race, in the same neighborhood as Chase Sexton, who, honestly, he outrode in this race. He was able to track down and pass Jason Anderson, who was also flying for second when Sexton wasn't. So, he's really fast. And yes, say what you want about the Suzuki, but Roxon doesn't have any complaints about him, and it apparently suits him very well.
Yeah, and he actually is my like podium lock of the week. And I know that he kind of slides under the radar, but I think that him coming out with that red plate plus triple crown, he has 3 chances to like get a good start, and Jet's been like struggling a little bit with start. Tomac's been struggling. Sexton's been struggling, it just seems like with those 3 individual races they have to do, that the like person who has been the most consistent so far is like going to shine through. I mean, that has been Roxon. So that is my podium lock of the week. I like wouldn't probably predict him first or second, honestly, but I would probably go as far to like predict Roxon third. Like, does that sound crazy?
It's definitely up there, but I mean, as long as he's up there in qualifying, I think maybe. I don't know. So, okay, my podium lock is going to be Tomac, just because he basically just got a bad start last week was the only reason why um, he wasn't up there on the podium. And now we're going to Glendale, a place where historically he's been very, very successful. And we have a triple crown, which is a format he's been extremely successful in. So I really like Tomac for basically a comeback, a little bit angry, and make a big statement in this next one. Obviously, Lawrence is going to be a factor. Chase Sexton, I would think and assume is going to be a factor, but I mean, Ken Roxon's up there too. So I maybe would go Roxon with the prediction of fourth if he was on my team, but I definitely could be wrong.
So my dad is a big Supercross fan. He like plays in our like Founders League for Speed League, and he also plays a little fantasy game. Not sure. I mean, it's a pretty small fantasy game, but it's called RM Fantasy. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that, but he actually is in second place out of 15. And today, me and him were like talking about, like picks and like where we think who's like getting what. And like he actually has Roxon in the second position. He says that he thinks Roxon's going to come out with his starts, and he has him locked in at second. So, I mean, who knows if he knows something we don't. But yeah, definitely Roxon gaining the respect of Supercross fans everywhere. So Kenny's getting it
Yeah.
done.
I mean, it's like I'm, my heart in a weird way wants to bet against it that's going to happen, but he's already finished second twice this season. So, I mean, statistically, it's a hard argument to make.
For sure. Also, someone that's been like riding out of their mind is like Jason Anderson. I mean,
Dude.
he in the heat race was just straight up faster than Jet Lawrence, and like this has almost been something that we've seen multiple times now. When like Jet's in second behind Tomac and just can't really catch him. Is just slower than like Tomac on that night, and in the heat, Jet was just slower than Anderson. And you think, okay, maybe it was a heat, and I mean Jet got him once, but then Anderson got him right back. So it's like, was Jet not riding his hardest, or did he not, have the
Yeah.
speed to catch Anderson? I mean, what was going on there?
I mean, I don't know if I would go so far as to say that Anderson was faster than Jet.
In
I
the heat,
think
he
Jet,
was.
even in the heat, I mean, I would say that. I mean, he was pushing up against him, and I think at the end probably just like didn't want to fight it so hard for just a heat race win. But he was on him most of the time. I think he ran out of time in the heat to be able to make that move, and the stakes just weren't high enough. But it was awesome that we basically just saw the same battle repeated in the main event, and with 20 minutes on his side, Lawrence was able to get by him and pull out the gap for the win. But Anderson was flying through the whoops, and they had that dual whoop section, which is actually kind of cool. The little experiment they did where, they built one of the whoop sections in the traditional way, and then another one they rolled them just to basically see what was going to hold up longer. And I mean, I saw some video afterwards. They were mostly, it seemed pretty even, but in any case, I mean, whoops were a major factor in one of the big passing points. And Anderson he's one of the old school guys that like he doesn't want to mess around jumping through the whoops. He wants to blitz the whoops, and he can do it fast, and it makes a huge, huge difference.
And another person I want to talk about is Hunter Lawrence. I mean, he just got his second fifth place finish in a row, which I do think that he's kind of overachieving. In this race, he like beat Tomac, he beat Webb, he beat a lot of these guys that I think that he's slower than. But like, he's been getting really consistent starts too, and just kind of riding his race. And he's not, obviously so much slower than those guys that he gives up so much ground that if they get a shitty start, they could catch him. But I mean, what do you think about Hunter getting back-to-back fifths? I mean, where would you predict Hunter coming into this Triple Crown after his super consistent last two races?
I mean, I'm not surprised at all that he's getting fifths. And I mean, I think in his second year in the 450 class with, I mean, the speed and talent that he has, that we saw, especially in the outdoors last year. I would have expected him to be getting top fives and pushing for podiums. And I think he probably will this season. So, yeah, if I had Hunter Lawrence on my team, I'd be predicting him fifth.
Wow. Okay, going straight up fifth. I would probably not go fifth, and it's funny because I know that we talked about this last week. I made a NXT parlay triple legger trying to come up on some money, and for the second week in a row, Hunter Lawrence was the reason I lost because I predicted him lower than 5.5 was where his rank was. And it's just crazy, with the whole betting thing is you think, oh man, what if this, what if that, what if grandma had nuts, she'd be grandpa. But if just Tomac would have just had a decent start, then I could have came up on some winnings. But I was one leg short again, thanks to Hunter. But I'm happy for him though. I mean, he's been doing really well and he's freaking holding it down for the Lawrences. So whatever.
So what's your prediction for Hunter Lawrence? I mean, yeah, you don't have him on your team, but if you did,
No,
where are you predicting him?
I would probably go sixth or seventh, probably, thinking that Tomac, so here, let me pull up how they finish. So Jet's faster, Roxon's faster, Anderson's faster, Sexton's faster, Tomac's faster, Webb should be faster, right? I mean, I know that he got an eighth this week, but Cooper Webb should be faster than Hunter Lawrence, right? I mean, preseason we had Cooper Webb ranked second. I mean, he is one of the premier guys, and he does have 2 podiums. So I mean, really, Webb should finish ahead of him too. So I mean, that would put him seventh in the predicted. But I mean, someone always kind of has a bad start, maybe a crash. I mean, maybe sixth would make the most sense to me. But I mean, I just think fifth is way too generous, even though he's got fifth 2 races in a row.
Yeah, I mean, with his speed, I mean, assuming nothing bad happens to him, I would expect him to be beating a few, maybe a couple of those guys at every main event, just randomly due to some things happening because he's fast and things happen.
For sure. Going down a little further, we'll go to my deep pick for someone that I think is going to turn it around because he's had some bad luck. Is Dylan Ferrandis. I mean, I do think that he is a top 10 guy when he finishes the race without crashing or with freaking Plessinger or not for getting his bike Siamese twinned. He is a top 10 guy and he got 16th. He was trying to freaking pass his way up from dead last. I think Dylan Ferrandis is good for a 9th place prediction week in and week out, no matter what. I mean, now he's 14th in the points, which someone might look at his, but Anaheim 1 didn't even race, Anaheim 2 16th. He is a 9th place guy, and I think that he will show that coming up here next week.
Yeah, and he's just unfortunately kind of a bad luck guy. And I mean, this season's been him and Aaron Plessinger. I mean, I had Aaron Plessinger on my as my deep pick last week at an 8th place, and yeah, just on his birthday gets tangled up with Dylan Ferrandis. I think it wrecked his throttle tube and just had to DNF. So I I'm giving up on calling Aaron Plessinger my deep pick and giving him, a top 10 prediction, not because I don't believe in Aaron Plessinger, but just because something has to happen to turn his luck around. He needs to stop walking under ladders or breaking mirrors or whatever the heck he's doing. It's just a rough season for AP, but I mean, he's got 3 main events to hopefully turn something around this coming week.
Birthdays are another thing that'll make someone kind of overperform. And I mean, I have Aaron Plessinger on my team, and I unfortunately lost this week by it was 9 points or whatever it was. And I just needed Aaron Plessinger to finish the race. I mean, not even saying top 10, just get a 12th, different cruise around on your birthday and get a 12th. And he got dead last, and I lost by 8 points. I'm 0-3. My team is not bad. I have Jet Lawrence. I have Hayden Deegan. I have some fucking heavy hitters. Picked up Cole Davies, getting podiums and shit. And it just seems like the person that I play just just does a little bit better than me. My like points aren't bad. My team isn't bad. I'm just hoping this week I could turn it around. And then East, I have Faulkner, I have Anstey. So I'm hoping that I could turn my season around because I am 0-3 and Kelly is 3-0. And I think that I'm more of a Supercross guru than him too. So it's pretty embarrassing.
I'm not sure the stats back that up, but I'm not too worried. There's plenty of time for your East guys to get injured in practice and not be able to make the first race.
Seriously.
All right. Is there anybody else we want to look at here? I'm stoked for Glendale. Cooper Webb, 8th place. Malcolm Stewart, 9th place. Justin Barsha is actually my deeper pick for this upcoming race. Barsha finished 10th, which is his worst of the season so far. He's gone 6, 8, 10, which I kind of think that 6th through 10th is right in his range. And I'll just hit the sort of average in between those of 8th place is where I would predict Justin Barsha.
So I'm back on the NXT bet site right now on Underdog Fantasy. I'm a degenerate gambler. I can't like get off this thing. So I was looking at Justin Barsha for your like deep pick. His like over under is 8.5. So if you were parlaying some hot picks together, would you do better than 8.5 for your parlay, Kelly Hansen?
That's a good over under right there. That's a hard one. Yeah, I would say better than 8.5, but man, that's a coin flip.
Yeah, I mean, like I've like noticed looking at these, or whoever does these. I mean, obviously, multi-billion-dollar gambling industry has to have like the sharpest minds. All this, but they always have the perfect number for the over/under. I like follow Supercross every week. I do a bunch of research. I do a ton of Speed League stuff. I do a podcast, and I feel like I know these racers pretty damn well, and they always are dead on like where these guys should finish. It's like pretty crazy. It's like hard to find an edge.
Yeah. At the same time though, I mean, we were looking at some, I think just for Anaheim 1, and obviously Anaheim 1 is so chaotic and so crazy that it's hard to predict anything, but they had some weird ones on there. I mean, wasn't it like Cooper Webb was like buried way deep in the rankings for Anaheim 1?
Yes, but it's like what's crazy about that is like, yes, he was way deep. He was like, plus 1,200 or plus 800, So like, what does that do? It like makes people like us think, oh, wow, that's a good deal. Let's put 10, 20, $100 on him. And like, did he win? No. So like, that was a good thing. They had Sexton like a plus 700 to win in like Sandy, SD. And we're like, okay, he's like coming off a race win. This is such a good bet, plus 700. And he didn't win. He had like his worst fucking finish of the whole season. So, I mean, they almost know like how to entice you to think, oh, wow, that's the bet of the week. But it never ends up happening. So,
well,
I think Supercross is like fixed. No, it's a fix. I think the refs are in on it. Yeah, the refs. It's always the refs.
It's the refs. They got the Kansas City Chiefs refs in there doing Supercross and running the pit boards when Joe Shimoda's going by. Okay, we got anything else? Are we ready to move on and get stoked for Glendale?
Let's do it. Triple Crown, baby. I'm stoked.
Triple Crown. Let's go Tomac. I think that's going to be the move. But I mean, honestly, I'm already 3-0. I'm not too worried. I basically got this season locked up already. I'm relaxing after 3 rounds. I just want to see some good racing. I want Tomac and Jet to go after it.
I want Tomac, Jet, Sexton, 1, 2, 3. Battle it out. Duke it out. See who the king is.
And Roxon in there too, just to mix things up. All right, guys. We will see you after Glendale. Peace out.